All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going over the PowerPoint presentations for Murox ASP.NET 4.6 with C# 2015 6th edition. We're in the middle of Chapter 10, talking about Bootstrap with ASP.NET, and showed this last time, but you can also use the same contextual classes, success, primary, etc., not just with buttons as we use them, but with text as well. All right, you can put them in tables. The URL for the Bootstrap components. Now, I do want to mention something about this. This is page 350 in the book. All right, and they talk all about glyphicons in here. This is one major point of difference between Bootstrap 3 and Bootstrap 4. All right. So differences between Bootstrap 3 and 4. This is the migrating thing. Here's the Quacket, and I've went through that before. So if we do look in here and see what's in here as far as the difference, does it show the glyphicon stuff in here? I should check. Glyphicons, notice, supported in Bootstrap 3, not supported in Bootstrap 4. That doesn't mean you cannot use them. That means that inherently the glyphicons that are available here, all right, they're available here by default in version 3 are not in version 4. So these, all right. But if I come in and I type in how to use glyphicons in Bootstrap 4, what you'll notice is this is from an Eduonics article. Come on. Although glyphicons have been dropped in Bootstrap 4, one can still use the other options to procure such type of icons. There are versions out there that you can grab, and the idea is the one you'll probably want to use is Font Awesome right here. So you go to the Font Awesome website, okay, which is here at http://fontawesome.io. You click on the Font Awesome IO icons to list your available 675 icons, and then you grab the one you want. So what does that mean? Well, let's click to get to the site. Let's click on icons. All right, and let's assume for a second that we want, let's pick out one that would actually show pretty well. How about a thermometer, a full thermometer? Okay, so it says all we have to do is basically add this. We should be able to just add that code, so let's check. So I've removed everything that was here. Let's put it into a paragraph tag. All right, so that's all I put in there. And ideally, at least, we're going to see that when we run this. I don't think there's anything else extra that we have to add. I could be wrong. Well, I don't see it. FA thermometer full. I thought that was all that we had to do. Let's go back and check and see if we can figure this out. Copy the entire Font Awesome directory into your project. Okay, so let's see, to view the list, click on the download button. It will download a package. Okay, so let's click on the download button as shown below. So we wanted to click on that button. So let's try that. Let's go back here. Should be a download button here someplace. think we have to go back. There we go. Download. Before you download, check that out. No thanks, just download all Font Awesome 4. Alright. Let's show it in the folder. There it is. Let's cut that. Let's copy that into here. Then we will unzip it. All right. There's Font Awesome. There's fonts, etc. There's the fonts, so they probably is in there. I don't know. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go back to my project here, stop the run. Let's copy that right to the images folder, or paste that into the images folder. All right. So we've got to give it the path. Okay, so I'd have to find that thermometer full that's in there, and it should be in there. Let's see. Can we check in here? Hopefully you don't think I'm wasting your time here. Okay. That's what I'm looking for, is I want to grab that one. I want to find the path, the Font Awesome Min CSS. Okay. That's the one. So it's going to be under fonts. No, not under fonts. Font Awesome 4.7.0 CSS, Font Awesome Min CSS. All right, I'm making this much harder than it actually is. They explain it in the article here as far as what you'll have to do. All right, so they want you to link to that style sheet. There you go. That makes a lot more sense. So let me close this. Should have thought of that myself. Stupid on my part. Why is it showing like that? Why is that showing? All right, let's go back to our About file. Open that. All right, and come in here, and actually what I'd probably want to do would be to go over to the site master. And that's where I've got all this other stuff here, where our links to everything and our references. Probably the way I'm doing this isn't the right way to do it, but I'm going to do it like this anyway. I'm just going to put it right there. All right, so I did link to it that way. Let's save. Let's go back to our About page. Let's right mouse click on our About page and put in View in Browser. And it is coming up. There it is, right there. There's a lot to show you for a little bit, a lot of bang for a little buck. All right. A lot of buck for a little bang, I should say. Okay. So I showed you how to change that. If you're going to use 3, you can go out and use the built-in glyphicons. All right. So we could use these. I'm not going to run those. This is how you do it in version 3. Okay. And you'll notice that you can have hyperlink controls as well, link buttons, etc. All right. Let's talk buttons. So buttons and button groups starting on around page 352. Button group, button toolbar, button group size, button group vertical, button group justify. What I like about this book so much is what the author does is explain something and then shows it to you visually. So here's a basic button group. You may or may not like the way that that is kind of laid out on there, but the point is they are literally now in there as what is referred to as a button group. So I can remove this, replace it with that. So I've got this button group. All right, you can see these right here. So you've got a home, a cart, a products, and a contact us. You'll notice it's all inside of a div with the class of button group. There they are. They're all ghost-looking buttons. We could use some CSS to split them up and do some other work with them. To my knowledge, you can do that. Okay? Again, it's inside of a div with a class of button group. That's how you show. So you can use that to group those buttons together. They also show on the next page in our textbook how we can come in. So again, there was the basic button group. We can have justified buttons, so they look a little bit more spread out. You can have toolbars with button groups. All right, so notice these are split into two different groups. All right. We can also, again, and this it starts on page 354 in the text, as it says, CSS classes for creating button drop-downs. And they show you some code, which makes it a little nicer always to work with some code and show you that as opposed to showing you pictures that are in a book. Again, I cannot implore upon you too much. If you want to learn this stuff, just do what I'm doing. Literally, go in, create a page, start throwing some junk in it like I'm doing. So what you notice here when you look at it is what? We have a button group. All right, there's our button, but under our button, we have an unordered list. Now, if I try to click either one of these, I don't believe I have any masks or costumes.aspx files, so I'll just get an error message. That's not what's important. What is important is that we can use these classes and stuff to create a button drop-down. So again, it's a button that displays a menu of links when clicked. So to do this, you must code the button in a button group along with a list. Okay, so there it is. There we go. Again, if we click these, nothing's going to happen because we don't have those files. That isn't, again, what's important here. We can do the same kind of thing for creating list groups, and this is on 356 and 357. So the CSS classes that you use for list groups let you display items such as links, buttons, and list items in a list. You can nest a list group within another list group. All right, and they show you some examples right here. That's what you get by default, so if I put in this text, that's what I get. We can also add things like badges, which is in the book, but we really didn't even go over it. Badges are little things, little stuff that we put in here like this, class equal badge with the numbers, etc. Why would you put that in? Sometimes you put in stuff like that to let somebody know how far they've come. If they're trying to I don't know, work on something in a program or whatever. So let's add this. Again, you'll notice that unlike before where it was in a button group, here it's in a list group. All right, there we have it. Let's save and run. And we can go in and we can add extra CSS to this. So I believe the badges will be black by default with white writing. If we didn't like those, we could change those to something else. All right, so there's all sorts of different things that you can add, manipulate, change whatever way you want to or see fit to do so. Alerts, okay. The reason that you might want to work with an alert is they provide different types of feedback for an application. All right, so they have alerts in here, including dismissible alerts. So you notice that that dismissible, by saying that data dismiss equal alert, that added the X there. And you may notice it's got times. That puts that X there. Instead of you putting in an X yourself in upper or lower case, the recommendation is that you use that times thing in there because it works better and it looks better contextually to use that. It's not that you have to do that, but that's the recommendation, is that you do that. So if I add this, again, hopefully by now it's becoming old hat to you. You'll notice we've got a div with a class of alert, the success and the dismissible. All right, then we add our button, and that's what gives us that X with a button in there. We go, all right, with so if we run this, save and run. Ideally, at least, as we're going through this, this is getting for you to be more and more where it's almost second nature. And I'm already up to 17 minutes, so I'm not going to go too much further, and then we'll finish it hopefully with a third one. So there it is. We've got the times there, and I think I know what the error is. I think that's an error in the book. Notice it still does close. But I believe that we got that error there because we didn't put an ampersand before the word times. I believe that's what that error is. So let's stop the run, start it again, and see if that gives us the X instead of ampersand times, which is not what you would want. So that, I believe, is an error actually in the book. It's either nope, it's not an error in the book, but it's an error in the code that I had. So there's the X. Okay? All right. Let's get rid of that. You can create breadcrumbs just as well. You'll notice that we've got an organized list here, or an ordered list, I should say. And in there we've got the class equal breadcrumb. Let's move our LIs over. Okay, so you can see just what it looks like. Again, these won't go anywhere because I have not made them active. They don't actually, there are no associated pages is what I should say, but it will show you a breadcrumb, which is the goal of showing you this here. All right. Okay. Next, we talk a little bit about working with thumbnails, something you should all be familiar with by now. All right. So there are examples. The idea is that you can click on one of the thumbnails if you've got a list of them like this, and it gives you a bigger picture. You can add captions. Notice here, no captions. Here we have captions. There's the ASPX code. Again, it's not going to work for me because I don't have those images loaded. So I'm just going to jump on into working with navs. Now, notice this talks about navs. These are not necessarily nav bars. All right, typically this is a nav component. Nav components are typically placed within an HTML5 nav element for accessibility reasons. All right, so this is going to give us tabs. Okay. So we could use the same area on our screen to open up different things if we wanted to do so. Okay, we can set it up as an unordered list as tabs, an unordered list with justified tabs, a bulleted list, etc. Now, nav bars are the one that most people equate with this stuff. I'm not going to say that it's more or less important. It's not really for me to say, but these are some of the things that you can use with nav bars. All right. Well, I don't know what happened. There we go. So nav bars are going to look more like this. Hopefully if we move up a little bit. Okay, there we go. So we've got some ASPX code here for a nav bar. So let's look at that. Let's bring all this up. This may or may not resonate the way that I want to show it to you, but it's okay anyway. So bring that in. I'm getting some errors now because there's more code on the next page of this. That's here. The only thing I'm worried about is this ... that's down here. I have no idea if that's going to give me an error or not, but we'll check it out. I don't see any errors showing right now, so let's save and let's run this and see if we indeed get our nav bar. You'll notice if you look very quickly here, it's the default nav bar. So we should have black text on a white background. There it is. Okay. So instead of, for example, coming in here and putting in nav default, we put in nav inverse, save, stop the run, run it again. We should have the inverse nav bar put in here. I think that's all we needed was nav inverse, but we'll find out. So this should look more like the one above it. You can see that it does. Okay? All right, let me grab or remove all of this code. Stop the run, save, go back here. And they give you, again, more stuff here. They mention that the static top makes it the full width of the viewport, but it does scroll off the screen. Fixed top keeps it there on the top, so as you scroll your way through, it doesn't move. Fixed bottom, same kind of thing, but on the bottom in the inverse I already showed you. This gets us up to, so here's pictures of all those. I'm not going to run through them. Okay. The CSS files that are downloaded with the Bootstrap NuGet package. I'm going to stop right here, and this brings me to page 368, and I'm going to pick it up there in the third and last part of this chapter in just a couple minutes.